All right, thank you so much. I think protocol dictates when we have such blended activities and people on Zoom, the first thing I have to say is, can you hear me? I think, okay, I see Olivia nodding. I'm happy because I can start introducing myself, and if you can't hear me, then I'll just be, is it called mining? Yeah. So, hi to see all of you. My name is Robert Belle. I am from the Caribbean, but I'm an African. And I think that's a very good distinction because I'm a big champion of the diaspora. I actually host a podcast called Coming Black to Africa that encourages Africans, whether of African descent, once you're black, you're an African, and Africa is home. And in that podcast, I talk about, what it means to come black to Africa, not just physically coming black, but a lot of us lose our identity as Africans. So I may have been raised in the Caribbean, but I am African through and through. About myself is I'm a champion of creativity, an ambassador of wellness, and a pursuer of excellence. Those are the three pillars and foundations in which I describe myself. I am on a quest to help people get their identity away from their professions, away from their background, away from their upbringing. Because if I were to introduce myself in a very traditional manner, I would say I'm an accountant, I'm a speaker, I'm an author. I can go on, and the list goes on and on and on. And usually we stop there. So what about someone who's starting their business? Or like I heard earlier, Frida was saying this, I can't remember her name, a lady said she's thinking about starting her business. So if she has yet to start a business, she's not yet considered quote unquote an entrepreneur. So who is she, right? And so I'm big on using creativity to help people really get their identity. Now, that's a lot about me. I think I will stop there. But for specifics, I grew up in the Caribbean island, twin island states called Antigua and Barbuda, located 17 degrees north, 35 degrees west of the Greenwich Mediterranean. So it's a twin island state, 365 beaches. And yes, I love the beach. When I was back home, I would go to the beach during my lunch hour. So that's who I am. I think what I love about Kenya is the entrepreneurial spirit. I kid you not. Kenya actually brought out that entrepreneurial spirit in me. It's always been there, but it gave me this sense of confidence. Like, people are willing to take the risk. I mean, like, yes, you can say because we have a 35% unemployment rate in Kenya. McKinsey says across Africa, most African countries is almost 50%. But in Kenya, people are willing to take the risk, right? And that's what actually led me to do what I do. Because I would speak to so many people when I first came over 10 years ago. And then 2 years later, I meet them up. I say, hey, how is that business idea going? And a lot of people told me, oh, I stopped doing that business. I was like, why? Well, I didn't know if I was making money and I didn't have support. Like what Frida was saying in her opening remarks in Granville, it's like the ecosystem was just not there, right? And I felt bad. I was like, how can I help such people, right? So that's what I love about Kenya, that people are willing to seek the help that they need to grow their businesses. That's a very good question, because it's a question that lingers on every entrepreneur's mind, whether we like it or not. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't face that question as entrepreneurs. And if I was to use my accounting background, obviously I'll say you make a breakthrough and you make a profit. But that is not the full story. Maybe I'd take a step back. In the entrepreneurship journey, right? It's all about decision making, right? Entrepreneurship is about decision making. And one thing that I say is being ready is first a decision you make before it becomes a position you take. Right? I'll repeat that. Yeah. Being ready is first a decision you make before it becomes a position you take. So many of us want to call ourselves an entrepreneur when we've actually registered the business, when we have made a profit. I'm answering your question about from the outside in. Where is that breakthrough point? And for me, the breakthrough point is when you decide and own that you're an entrepreneur. And you decide and own you're an entrepreneur when you take that risk. Whenever you take that risk, for me, is the breakthrough of you becoming an entrepreneur. The reason why I say that is because a breakthrough, unfortunately, has been misrepresented. A breakthrough is an important discovery or development. And oftentimes we focus on the development part. So we say, oh, an artist has a breakthrough when they have 1 million downloads, or, the breakthrough is so external. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, and that's why they say entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, breakthrough is internal. You must have the discovery first before you get the development. So for me to answer that question, from the outside in, the biggest breakthrough an entrepreneur can have is that discovery that you know the solution, the problem you're solving, you have the product, you know who you're solving it for, and you know how to monetize it. You have the support around you. When you get that discovery, I think that's the biggest breakthrough. And I can say personally, I've done that. I got my discovery years ago, and things are unfolding and manifesting in my entrepreneurship journey now because of the seeds and discovery that I discovered years ago, right? So people look from the outside and it's like, oh, things are just happening for you. They don't just happen in entrepreneurship. And I'll tell you that, guys, I'll tell you, you don't just wake up and then you have a flood of inquiries. You have to get the leads. You got to look for this. You have to put in the effort, right? So I started out on that journey, as I said, to really help entrepreneurs. I'm an accountant, so at least I started from the accounting background to help entrepreneurs understand their finances, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest areas like entrepreneurs struggle, right? Where do we learn about money? Especially, from an African context, where do we learn about money? So I set out to plant those seeds and I got that discovery. I'm clear on my value proposition. I'm clear on who I need to help, right? So much so, it's so magical that we're recording this at Nairobi Garage, Karen, because a few weeks ago, I, upstairs in this place, recorded a TED Talk, right? A TED Talk. I entered a TED competition and I came out a winner globally, over thousands of entrants.
That's really nice.
And thank you so much. It's a really big deal. It's so big because it's the message I've been speaking for years, because I got the discovery. And so when I got that discovery, that was the breakthrough for me, that I just need to follow the path. I just need to trust the process. I just need to continue, because in entrepreneurship, we tend to give up because we're not clear on that discovery. Let me just add on that a bit, just to send it home, the message home a bit more, because that's what entrepreneurship is about. You see a gap in the market that no one else has seen, or at least in a form in which you haven't seen it. So you have to be the one to slash away the shrubs, the trees. You have to be the one. No one else is going to do it, right? That's why I say the breakthrough comes when you have discovered, I can make a path here. That's when the breakthrough happens. I wrote this book because it follows up with that idea that I had of really helping entrepreneurs fill that gap. And the book is called Blow the Lid Off: Reclaim Your Stolen Creativity, Increase Your Income, and Let Your Light Shine. Because that was my discovery. I discovered the reason why a lot of people are struggling as entrepreneurs and even as employees is because they've not unleashed their hidden and suppressed creativity. That was my big idea. That was my big idea. And I realized creativity is that missing component. So I wrote this book to help people unleash that creativity so that they can bring out that entrepreneurial spirit. It doesn't mean everyone will go start a business, right? And that's why creativity is the number one in-demand soft skill, right? Employers want it because employers are looking for people who will take a risk, who will find a path, who will identify an untapped market, and exploit it, right? So I wrote this book for specific reasons for that, targeted primarily to who I call corporate dissatisfied people, not unsuccessful, right? Because entrepreneurship, and I kid you not, I'll tell you this, guys in the room and everyone, I say this everywhere I speak, entrepreneurship is not for someone who can't find a job. Give it up. If you can't find a job, don't become an entrepreneur. Because entrepreneurship is not a by the way. It takes intentionality, right? Entrepreneurship is for someone who is dissatisfied with the status quo in the market, that this gap can no longer exist and I want to fill this gap. The reason why it's called Blow the Lid Off, it's an English expression that talks about, when you're blowing the lid off something, there's usually a conspiracy. And the conspiracy that I'm unraveling is that creativity is just for artists. Creativity is just this painting behind. Absolutely not, right? Creativity is the bedrock of entrepreneurship. That's a very bold statement. The reason why I say creativity is the bedrock of entrepreneurship is because, yes, you need skills of leadership, decision-making, management. Those are skills. Creativity, on the other hand, is a competence. And I'll tell you the difference. You see, a skill set is something that you learn. You're taught, you do this, through experience, etc. A competence is a combination of skills. You see, a skill is for a particular task or particular job. So I am a coder. I learned the skill of coding. That's a skill. Creativity is a competence that brings together a kaleidoscope of skills: leadership, risk-taking, emotional intelligence. And for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to be 360 degree. You have to see everything: stakeholders, suppliers, customers, the value chain, investors. You have to be able to see everything. Creativity is the bedrock of entrepreneurship. So what I just said could sound very good theoretically. Yes, creativity is, bedrock of entrepreneurship. How does it actually help you grow? When a business grows, how do we indicate growth in a business? It's by revenue, by sales, right? I'm an accountant, so allow me to use a little lingo a bit. So when revenues start to grow, there's something else that's happening when your revenues grow. Is that your expenses equally grow because it takes money to make money. Now, how creativity helps with that is creativity helps you to create systems in place. Creativity helps you to bring out this unique way of minimizing your expenses but maximizing your revenues. How does that happen? Let's take a step back. You see, creativity, as I said, is not just artistic, it's intellectual. Creativity is an identity extractor. That's what I say. Creativity is an identity extractor at a personal level and at a business level. This is why when a company has a logo or brand, we think that's the identity, but it's an expression of the identity. So creativity helps you to solidify who you are. What is your value proposition? For example, Safaricom, the most profitable company in Africa, right? They have taglines, right? So creativity helps to extract your identity. And how that translates into growth is because you begin to differentiate yourself in the market, right? I differentiate myself in the market talking about creativity because I'm coming from an accountant perspective. You know, when I entered the TED competition, they were very clear on the parameters. You cannot speak about an idea that has already been on TED. You have to, this global idea search competition is looking for new ideas that need to be amplified. So I searched all the TED Talks, TEDx, TED, I did. The accountants, I don't know what happened with us as accountants, we don't speak, right? So I found nothing like that. So creativity helped me to identify that is my uniqueness, right? And when you can do that with your products, your differentiation, then you're clear. You know, I tell people that the worst thing you can do when you're pitching your business or your product is say, oh, we've been in the business for 20 years. Our product is superior because we use this quality. Consumers don't care about that, right? Consumers care about, can it solve my problem, right? Can it solve my problem? So that's how creativity helps. Because once you start growing, and this is the difference, let me say this, the difference between growing a business and scaling a business, right? When you scale a business, you've put processes in place that can repeat that process. And also your expenses become plateaued. Your expenses will not exceed the place because you have mastered the process. And scale has a tendency to break things that are not flexible.